name is Presley. Welcome to PezKnits. This is my little monthly roundup video of everything that I've been working on in terms of like knitting and crocheting. Welcome back to those who have been here before and watched my videos, and welcome to those who may have never seen me before. Hi. I hope you've been well. I am uploading this video a little bit earlier than usual, and the reason why is because I had some time off. I was fortunate enough to have some time off, and I thought, why not spend the time, uploading a PezKnits video? So that's why you're getting it a little bit early. I have so much things to show you. I recently just got back from a holiday to New Zealand, so I've got some little Stashquisitions to show you from New Zealand. It's very exciting, so make sure to stick around for that. But I'm going to jump into whips. I don't have any finished objects to show you this month, but that's okay. But before I jump into whips, I also wanted to talk about what I'm wearing today. If you saw my previous video, I had talked about this in depth, but this is my Haru V-neck by PezKnits. She's gorgeous. It's getting a little bit colder in Sydney, and by a little bit colder, I think it's like maybe 2 degrees colder. So it's still super sunny, but it's like getting a little bit chilly. So I thought I would show it off today and wear it. It is yet to make a debut in the real world because it's still a tad too hot for it, but it's cold in my apartment, so I thought I would wear it and debut it on PezKnits. Yes, gorgeous. The yarn is, I think it's Corringdale, I'll put it on below, yarn, hand-dyed yarn that I had purchased a while ago, and the color is beautiful. So yes, I'm gonna hop into whips. I'm gonna start with the biggest one, which is my crochet blanket. Ta-da! So since we spoke last, I had done the blue border that you can see here, and I also added more checkers to the length of the blanket. When I showed it to you before, I think it was like a 6x5 blanket, and now it's a 6x7, which is like the final size because I didn't want to make it too big. It's meant to be a lap blanket. And then I've started on the border. It is looking striking. It's a very graphic and bright blanket. And in the last episode, I had asked you guys what flag this blanket is based on, because it's based on a flag, and I'm just going to give you the answer. It is the Croatian flag. The Croatian flag, yes. So this checkers features in the flag, and the pattern is the checkered picnic blanket. I can't remember who it's by, but I'll put it at the bottom. And I used that pattern kind of loosely because I knew I wanted like this checkerboard design, but because I'm like new to crochet, I didn't really know how to go about it. So I used that pattern as like a reference point for me to make this blanket. It was very straightforward and simple. So yeah, I recommend it. It's free on Ravelry, so check that out if you want to make a kind of like a checkerboard blanket. I know checkerboard was popular a while ago, but I've seen other like checkerboard blankets like in black and white or even like in rainbow colors that looks awesome. So yeah, if you want a pattern, check that one out. Okay. All right, so that was my first whip. That's like very close to being done. I'm just gonna do one more round on the border because I want the border to be there but not too thick. I do have like 2 more balls of that blue besides the one that I have right now, which is slowly running out. And I'm actually thinking of using the excess yarn because I still have balls of the white, the red, and the blue. I'm thinking about making a matching pillow. How cute would that be? Like a matching checkerboard pillow. I haven't looked at any patterns, but I have a feeling I could put it together in my mind, just make one. So that's been simmering in my brain on how I would make a pillow, like a pillow cover for a pillow with a checkerboard design. So that might be something I'll be working on soon, or maybe I'll never work on it at all. Who knows? You know what I mean? Okay, whip number 2. Now, I just previously mentioned my holiday, and this was my holiday project that I brought. So I have been working on this like crazy. You saw it in the previous video if you watched that, and I had made 0 progress at all, and now you can see it. This is where it's up to. So this is a sweater. The pattern name is, I can't remember. I'm sorry. It's on the bottom. Hopefully I'm displaying it right now. I am the worst at pattern names. It is terrible. You would think I would pre-prepare before I hit record, but I literally don't. So that's on me. So when you last saw this, I had literally just done the neckline and like maybe one row of like orange or something. And so I've done a lot of the color work yoke now. Such a beautiful, beautiful design. And it is so easy. It looks crazy, like it looks super complicated, but it really isn't. And the reason is because each one of these stripes is like a repeat. And so when you remember like the 10 or 12 stitches that the first repeat is, you just keep doing that over and over again. And so it's very easy to memorize. Like you just need to reference maybe the pattern once or twice to get the hang of it, and then you can just put it away and finish the row, and then look at the diagram for the next row. It's very straightforward, but it looks so beautiful and like intricate, complicated when it really isn't. And I love that. I love stuff like that. I'll show you the back. So this is the back of the work. I love it because it's like an inversion. I keep covering my mouth, sorry. It's an inversion of the pattern on the front, which is like, I feel like knitting, when you're really into knitting, you always want to see like the back of people's pieces. Like that's what you're mostly interested in. Like, let me see the back of that. Let me see the back. And it's like so exposing. Like even for me, like showing the back of things, I'm like, don't look at the back, just look at the front. But this one, I'm like, yes, look at the back. Isn't that stunning? So I'm really happy with that. I'm carrying the yarn like every time that I change the color. I'm not like doing every 5 stitches. I'm just like, does that make sense? But the colors change so often that the floats are not long at all. And she referenced that in the pattern too. She's like, the floats are not long at all. So you can just like carry the float when you change color. And I apologize to people who have no idea what I'm talking about. But essentially when you do like stranded color work, you have 2 colors. Like I have the orange and the blue attached to this. And so when you like make the pattern, you're knitting only with one of the colors at a time, but you're carrying along the other one. I'm sorry, I'm really bad at explaining these things. So the yarn. So this is from Glenheaven Knits. This is some yarn that I purchased at a festival last year. It was on clearance, which is like crazy because these colors are so beautiful. The colorway is called Foxtail, and I'm not sure what this one's called. For some reason I feel like it's Ocean, but that's unconfirmed. And I assume they were on clearance because she's no longer like making these colorways anymore. I could be wrong. And this is just a 4-ply merino. I think it's just merino. But the fabric it's creating is like so soft, like one of the most softest like fabrics, like plushy fabrics that I've ever knitted, honestly. It's like has a little bit of fuzz to it because I traveled with it, so it was like smushed into my purse like most days. But it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. It's gonna look so pretty when it's done. I've almost finished the colorwork yoke, which is crazy. I just have maybe like an inch to go before the colorwork yoke ends, and then it's just like blue for the body. Very exciting. So a bit of a funny story about my holiday. So I went to New Zealand via a cruise. Now I'd never been on a cruise before. This was my first time ever. It was very interesting. Let's just say we went through the Tasman Ocean. If you know, you know. I was ill for like 3 days straight. But then after those 3 days, it was fine. Like we became immune, but those 3 days were horrible. And on the boat, there was actually a knitting catch up. So that tells you the kind of demographic that's on this cruise. You know what I'm talking about. But of course, I was so excited. I was like, wow, I wasn't expecting this at all, a knitting group. So I ended up joining. I'll put a picture here of all the ladies that were there. They were so sweet. Most of them were American. And they were just like so amazed that I had turned up. Because they were like, what are you doing here? You're too young for this. And I was like, you know, I love to knit and I thought I'd join. And I actually, I showed this and I was knitting on this and I showed it to them and they loved it. And they were so lovely. And I love seeing what they were working on. But what was interesting is that they were all mainly like quilters. They loved quilting. But obviously when you're on a cruise, you can't like bring your sewing machine, you know. So they had brought knitting as a kind of like, here's a project, a portable project that I can do, but my true passion is quilting. And I was obsessed because I've always wanted to learn how to quilt. Always. Like, I'm just so intimidated because there's so much equipment involved. So I've never really jumped into that. But in my mind, when I retire, I'm like, I'm going to start quilting. So it was really great seeing like all the creations that they had. And they were all really lovely. So that was a really great experience. Knitting and fiber arts brings us together, right? So it was really nice to see. Okay. I'm going to move on to Stashquisitions. So this is the exciting part. Thank you for waiting. If you've come here, if you've been watching this long, thank you for waiting. So I have all of my Stashquisitions in this bag. Like I said before, so these are Stashquisitions that I got in New Zealand. It was such a pleasant surprise. I don't know why it was a surprise to me because New Zealand is so known for sheep. Like, they're sheep farms. They've got like more sheep in New Zealand than they do people. And for some reason, I was shocked when I saw that yarn was everywhere. There were people knitting in the streets. I was like, what's going on? I was so amazed. And so I made a couple of purchases. One is this bag, which I could not resist. I was at the airport and I was like, I've already bought so much stuff. I can't buy this. I walked out of the store and then I turned right back around and I went and bought it because I thought this is like the perfect project bag. It's so adorable with the little sheep. It's like not just sheep, it's like literally knitting. It's got like knitting needles. I was like, oh, I have to get it. I have to buy it. So I bought it. So pretty, perfect size. The only complaint I have is that it is Velcro, which I know is like bad because the yarn's gonna get stuck in the scratchy one, but I've been pretty careful. Okay, first purchase. I had stopped by, and by I mean the boat. The boat stopped at a port at a city called Picton in New Zealand, and I did a lovely wine tour with my friends and my partner, and on the way to that wine tour, via bikes, we stopped by a yarn store, and I was so excited because I wasn't expecting that at all, to find a yarn store in Picton while I was on wine tour, and it was a beautiful store, and I made a couple of purchases, but I also took some footage of the store so you can see it. So I'll put that footage here now. Please enjoy. It was like a beautiful store. It didn't just have like yarn and knitting, crocheting. It was also like quilting and sewing. It also has some cross stitch stuff. So it was like all of the above. It had so many different things. And while I was in the store, I had asked the lady, what do you have that you can only get in New Zealand? Because obviously I want to purchase things that like I can't get in Sydney. And the items that she pointed me to was this yarn. And the reason why it is unique to New Zealand is because it has possum in it. This is a possum yarn. So it is 20% New Zealand brush-tailed possum and 80% fine merino. So I found out that in New Zealand it is legal for them to farm possums because it's a pest in their country. So like for Australia, like possums, they're native here, so we don't have any sort of laws to farm them. However, they're like a pest in New Zealand because they were introduced a very long time ago and they have since like overrun the country. And so they farm them and they use them to make yarn, but they also make like jumpers, sweaters, cardigans as well, which I saw a lot. And so I had to have it. I had to have it. I'm like, possum yarn? Stop. We've had dog yarn. If you're OG, you'll know we've had dog yarn. Now we have possum yarn. And so this is called the Purrino, which is such a cute name because it's like possum and merino. Purrino from Countrywide Yarns, and this is an 8-ply DK weight yarn. And it is this beautiful, I feel like it's turning out a little bit different on the camera. It's turning out more olive on the camera. However, in real life, I would say it's more like an avocado green. I fell in love with this color as soon as I saw it. And so I purchased 4 balls of this Purrino yarn. And it is super soft. It's really nice. You'd think that possums wouldn't be that soft. I'm like imagining, I don't know what I'm imagining, more like a rough like fur compared to like something like alpaca. You know, like how alpaca is like super soft. I was expecting more like something a bit harder, but this is really soft and it's beautiful. And so I purchased this yarn, of course, without any sort of plan. But looking at it, I think it would make a great hat and potentially a pair of fingerless gloves as like a set. Maybe, I don't know. Again, I don't have any plans set in place for this, but that's kind of like what I'm going for, a hat and glove set. And so beautiful, absolutely stunning. That was a very exciting purchase that I made. Moving on, second purchase. So I went to a port it's called the Bay of the Islands. And it consists of a group of islands. I'm not sure how many islands there are in total, but I went to 2 of them. And they must be super well known for their craft fairs because there were craft fairs everywhere. It was crazy. And so, of course, I got super excited. Never in my wildest dreams did I ever think there would be like a yarn seller at this place, but there was, which was very exciting. So I made a couple of purchases from that yarn, like the yarn vendor. Were these mini skeins. Now this vendor is called Stony Creek Farm. Lovely lady. I didn't catch her name, but I was chatting to her and she was absolutely lovely. She was sitting there crocheting as she like looked after the stall. And I was just like floating around looking at everything. And I initially purchased these 2 mini skeins. I'll show the first one. So I thought this one was really interesting in terms of like the color combination with it being purple and yellow. I'd never really seen that before, so I purchased that. And so it's described as a platinum sock mini. It's 20 grams. It's 75% merino and 25% nylon, so it's like a true, like a sock yarn. Stunning, absolutely beautiful. And then the second one is this one here, which is much more variegated. And it's like the exact same sort of composition. This one kind of spoke to me because like the Bay of the Islands, I was like surrounded by ocean and like surrounded by sand. And so I thought like this skein in particular reminded me like of the place I was at. So I purchased it. Stunning. And I am planning on adding this to a project, like an ongoing project that I have for mini skeins. Once I add them, I'll show you that. These like what I do with these in the next video whenever I pick that up. Ooh, oh my god, but very pretty. Okay, and then I walked away. I was happy with that, and then I thought, I feel quite silly being in a different country, you know, and she was a hand dyer, you know, and I should have bought like a full skein. So of course I made my way back to the store and started looking again. And then I ended up purchasing this skein right here. Stunning. Look at the vibrancy of that color. So this is a platinum sock as well, same composition. And this one just spoke to me again because I felt like this color was like New Zealand. Like the color of the ocean is very like similar to this color. New Zealand is famous for its mother of pearl, which is like, you know, on the inside of the seashell, and some of the colors in that mother of pearl are like a bright turquoise blue, which kind of matches like what this is going for. So this very much reminded me like of the country, and I thought that's like the best kind of souvenir, you know, it reminds you of like the travels that you had there. And so that's why I got this one. Stunning. It's like it's also very soft, like the feel of it. I always go on about color, but you know, it's important for the actual like feel of the yarn to be good, which it is good. And yeah, I was very happy with this purchase. And I also found that the yarn there, like in New Zealand, was a little bit cheaper than what's in Sydney and Australia, which I was like really happy to see. So that also gave me license to buy this as well, because I was like, if I was in Sydney, I'd have to pay X amount and this one's, you know, this amount, you know, I'm saving money buying this. So that's how I justified this purchase. It's absolutely stunning, and it just so happens that I feel like these mini skeins also just like, especially this one, like matches so well with like, this one's a bit of a contrast, but like they match so beautifully, like a color story between these three is very pretty. So I'm very happy about that. But yes, wow, so many purchases. Hopefully that will suffice. That will, you know, suffice my urges at least in the next month to buy yarn. But, you know, I was really happy with that. You know, when you're traveling, you just feel like I can buy anything I want. So that's exactly what I did when I was in New Zealand. I'm very happy. Okay, well, that's all I had to show you. I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I hope you have a wonderful month that's coming up, full of hobbies and full of everything you love. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye!